Mexicans deporting Americans is the funniest thing I've ever learned this year. So apparently, Mexican authorities are deporting Americans who have colonized along the area of the beaches. Of course, in the nicer area of Mexico. So if you don't have the proper documentation, they're going to deport you back to United States. And you know the most ironic thing is that these racist American people go live in different countries like in Mexico to live this luxury, beautiful, cheap life. And now they're getting deported. Yeah, the ones that say, go back to your country, go back to Mexico, go back to Guatemala, go back to Venezuela, go back to Cuba. Yeah, those are the ones living the luxury, beautiful life. Well, guess what? You're getting deported back to the United States. These people have exhausted the Mexican resources to live that beautiful lifestyle that they have over there in Mexico that they cannot afford here in America. The table just turned. Pack it up, wrap it up, and go.
White U.S. citizens is actually the largest group of immigrants in Mexico. And actually, a lot of them are visa overstays, so they're actually undocumented. So white people moving to Mexico has raised the price of home this year alone by 16% in the capital, and other years it's gone up 64%. I swear, everywhere white people go, they feel so entitled. They're walking around not even acknowledging the locals, raising the local prices for everything, pushing out the locals, and then overstaying their visa so they're undocumented. But when we do that, it's a real problem. And of course, they call themselves expat because immigrant is too beneath them. This is one of those things where it's like, what's fancy when you're white, but trashy when you're a person of color, immigrating for a better life. These people, if you're not going to respect where you're at, go back to where you came from.
Mexico is yelling for the gringos to go back home. It's funny how it's racist if Americans tell Mexicans to go back to Mexico, but it's not racist if Mexicans in Mexico tell Americans to go back to America. And now Mexicans in Mexico are holding up signs telling gringos, stop stealing our home and get out of Mexico. We don't need you here. Oh man, the irony is killing me. It kind of started peaceful, and then what happened in Los Angeles started happening over there. Because locals began to object to gentrification and rising rents and mass tourism in Roma and Condensa. But then a small group of people showed up and began to vandalize storefronts and chased foreign visitors, mostly Americans, at the U.S. Embassy Metro station. And they even began to spray paint "Get out of Mexico" on windows and began to shout, "Gringos, stop stealing our home." That sounds very familiar. Because let me get this straight. Telling immigrants to go back to their country, that's okay, as long as it's Mexicans telling Americans that, not the other way around. Because when Americans will quote the same words that they are using, it's called racist, xenophobic, colonization, double standard much? I mean, could you actually imagine American citizens holding up picket signs saying Mexicans need to go back to Mexico? You want to know what every left-wing media, how they would eat that stuff up? They would immediately begin their cancel culture with condemnation, saying, look at it, they're fascists, they're racist, they're just white folk being white folk. But when locals in Mexico do it to Americans, nobody's saying nothing. You want to protest gentrification? Great. But attacking tourists with valid visas, bringing United States money into Mexico, all of those areas that are tourist attractions are not tourist attractions because they are naturally tourist attractions, but because of the American dollar that goes into those places, enriching those societies, we're the enemy. So let me just say this plainly. If you don't want foreigners in your city, it goes both ways. You can't have prejudice one way without hypocrisy the other way. And that anti-gringo chant that you have going on, that's the same script that people condemn in the United States. But let me know what you think in the comments section, and don't forget to hit that follow button for your daily updates.
Hey guys, well here we go with another Wednesday. What the Okay, the Mexican president, y'all know she ain't playing with nobody. It seems that she had to come out and make an announcement that Americans that are moving to Mexico who are fencing off areas of the beach because they bought property They bought property on the beach or adjacent to the beach. And they're taking fences and fencing off where they don't want any Mexicans coming on their part of the beach. She has to tell them, you bought property in Mexico. You didn't buy the beach. The beach is not yours. You can't come here and fence off this beach where our citizens, where Mexicans cannot access the beach. You can't do that. And to have to be told that, to have to be told you're not entitled to the beach? Explain it. Your sense of entitlement is just out of this world. That's just like the story I heard about this white American moving to Mexico, bought some property in Mexico, but where she purchased her home or apartment or whatever she was living in, it was in an area that had this Mexican restaurant that had been a part of the community for ever. And the Mexican restaurant had, live entertainment. And of course, during their business hours, they played their music. Well, the capacity had to come out and say she didn't want to be, it was disturbing. The music was disturbing her peace and she wanted it stopped. She created such a ruckus. I think the restaurant eventually ended up being closed. How you gonna go to another country and tell them what to do? How you gonna go to, well, we already know you did it in America. But let me tell you something about the president in Mexico. She ain't playing with y'all. She ain't scared of y'all. And she's not in awe of y'all. What you gonna wind up doing, and what y'all gonna wind up doing, is you're gonna wind up getting the same treatment Trump giving their citizens. They're gonna run y'all ass up out of Mexico. They're gonna have to, because y'all don't know how to act. You don't know how to go anywhere and be a guest. You don't know how to go anywhere and just blend in with the society, with the culture. You want to go and you want to take over. You want to go and dictate to people what they can and what they cannot do. And these people have been in that country their whole lives. You just coming there and you want to run it? You want to tell them how to run it? Keep going over there. Keep going down there with your overly sense of entitlement. With your over sense of entitlement, and see what happens. She didn't play with Trump. What the hell make y'all think she finna play with y'all? Y'all got to understand. There is a, what do you want to call it? There's for lack of a better word, a stench when it comes to people finding out you're American. There's a stench with that. People outside of America don't care for Americans, especially now. But we want to take out, it's not me, I'm not going to say we, y'all. Y'all want to take y'all asses over to another country and try to pull your white card? While over in your country, y'all dogging out brown people? Y'all might want to get up out of Mexico. Because I'm quite sure they're just as tired as y'all as we are. And you keep on going over there trying to run stuff. Some of y'all just may now. Some of y'all just might come up missing. Like some of these illegal immigrants they're deporting, they're picking up. Some of them they're picking up and people never hear from them again. There was a report out the other day of a man that they wrongly picked up, sent him to El Salvador. Nobody has heard from him since. Not to mention, no one is talking about the women and the children they're picking up. Where are they sending them? Where did they go? We know the men are going to El Salvador. But where are the women and the children? Anybody know what they did, where they're deporting them to? Or are they selling them? It's a possibility because they're selling them to El Salvador. So what's the difference? So with the kind of treatment y'all are giving people over here, minorities over here, you may want to keep a real low profile in somebody else's country. That just might be something you just might want to think about. Because you go over there creating a ruckus and come up missing, who you think will come down there looking for you? When you go to other people's homes, you know how to act. You know how to behave. You know how to go into another person's home. You ask permission to do this. You ask permission to do that. You don't just go in there taking over. You don't go in there swinging open people's refrigerator doors, snatching their oven doors open, going in their drawers and opening their closets. You don't do that. You get somewhere and you sit your ass down. But I guess some were just raised different than others. We know how to be a guest in someone else's home. We know how to be a guest in someone else's country. It's sad y'all didn't pick up on those skills. Everyday, human, act like you got sense skills. Yeah, so Miss Lady down there in Mexico, hats off to you, baby. What you probably gonna wind up doing is what you probably need to do is just run all of them up out of there. Because they come in there trying to take over like they try to take over everything else. Everywhere they go, they try to take over. Let them know this ain't the one. Let them know you ain't the one. And let them know this ain't what they want. Send their ass back over here. Go for it.
Why is it that America is called racist for protecting its own borders when every other country does the exact same thing? Because every time America enforces its immigration laws, the media is screaming that we are racist, that we are colonizers. But if we take one look around the world, every nation has borders. Every nation has immigration laws. And guess what? Most of them are actually stricter than the United States. Let's look at Mexico, for example. Right now, currently, not in the past, there are protests erupting in Mexico City over immigration. And guess what the people are demanding? They want migrants to go home, to learn the language, to assimilate, or to get out of their country. Does that sound familiar? Because when Americans say the same thing, learn the language, follow the law, respect the culture, or get out, suddenly we're the bad guys. We are the racist colonizers. We're some evil empire. No, we're just a sovereign nation, doing what every other sane country on earth is doing, protecting our country. Our country has borders. We didn't invent that. You don't walk into someone's house uninvited. You don't just walk up into their yard. You don't walk up into their property, start breaking their rules, and then accuse them of being hateful when they call the police or they ask you to leave their property. But if immigrants break into our country, we're not allowed to feel that exact same way.
The Mexicans said, if we got to go, y'all got to go. Yes, they're coming for you, Americans. There have been over 240,000 apprehensions over the past 60 days, and 7,000 Americans have been deported. And anybody who says that they did not see this coming, you're crazy, because think about it. We're trying to put them off of our land. Look how adamant we've been about that. You don't think they try to put us off of their land? And you don't think the Mexicans see them Americans over there living their best life just like we see the Mexicans over here living their best life? Do I feel bad? No. And I also understand why they'd want to do it. I mean, think about it. We go over there for leisure all the time. But we're so adamant about trying to get them, make it make sense. And the Americans who went over there and decided to colonize on their land, I mean, of course we understand why they did. The American dollar has a higher value than the Mexican currency. Their businesses, there's better business opportunities. I mean, I understand why they did it, but their quality of life, the Mexicans, their quality of life is going down and prices on their businesses are increasing. So they're like, you got to get the home. So any American who's been shacking up on Mexican land, if you don't have legitimate paperwork, they're coming for you. Yes, they're putting you on their bus and they're bringing you back over here. And you and the people who they're taking back probably gonna pass each other on the buses.
Aha, my boy, they're kicking out all the Americans from Mexico, my boy. Did you hear the news, my boy? All the Mexicanos, my boy, they're sick and tired of all the gringos coming into Mexico, my boy, and taking their land, my boy. They got up and started breaking stuff, my boy. Telling all the Americanos, my boy, to go back home, my boy. It's funny, my boy, because all the gringos right now, all the Americans, my boy, they're saying, hey, you guys are being racist, my boy. Why are you guys kicking us out, my boy? This and that, my boy. It's crazy how the Americanos be kicking out all the Mexicanos, my boy. But yet, when the Mexicanos be kicking out the Americanos, it's like, oh, you guys are being racist, this and that, my boy. Hey, my boy, you guys be picking and choosing, my boy. What's it gonna be, my boy? Mexico's tired of all that, my boy. They're kicking out all the Americanos, my boy. They're tired of it, my boy. It's not going down, my boy. What do you guys think about this, my boy? Tell me, my boy. Are you mad, my boy?
U.S. News won't show you this, but I will. Gabriel Seth Rogers, a white U.S. citizen from Casper, Wyoming, was just arrested in Sinaloa, Mexico. And his crime? He was fleeing the United States to avoid prison time for drug trafficking and possession of stolen firearms. He was sentenced to 44 months in prison, plus supervised release, in order to pay over $27,000 in restitution. But before he could serve his sentence, he fled and crossed the border into Mexico. Rogers was tracked down living comfortably in a gated community in Sinaloa, Mexico. Thanks to coordinated efforts by the Mexican military and federal agencies, he's now in custody awaiting deportation. So a white American drug trafficker flees to Mexico, gets arrested by Mexican authorities, and then deported back to the US. And the Trump administration is saying Mexico isn't sending their best? Funny how people in the United States never hear about stories like Gabriel here.
Breaking news. The president of Mexico has stated that he will begin to deport Americans that have moved to Mexico without proper documentation, aka illegal immigrants. This comes after the president of Mexico states that he is tired of Americans gentrifying cities in Mexico. In the past 3 weeks, we have seen different events where Americans try to colonize beaches, public areas, and even salsa. While a lot of these Americans have moved to Mexico for a better life, they moved there because they cannot afford to live here in the United States. So move to Mexico so they can afford a lifestyle there. But locals have raised their prices because Americans are paying in dollars, while locals that are still shopping have to pay in pesos and now have to pay the equivalent of the dollar. And instead of these people moving to Mexico and bettering the economy, they're making it horrible for the people that live there. You know, the natives. And if you already did not know, the amount of Mexicans migrating to the United States has slowed down by the 100,000 since 2019. The amount of Mexicans living in the United States leaving willingly back to Mexico has increased drastically. And while Mexicans are moving back to Mexico, a lot of Americans have been moving to Mexico for a better life. But my, how the tables have turned. What are your thoughts?
You know, the irony that Mexican citizens in Mexico City are protesting American presence in their country. What in the uno reverso? Listen, that's what happens. Don't you think that the timing of it is just ironic? You know, America starts kicking all of the Mexicans out, and then Mexicans are like, no. We want you out of here too, because you're gentrifying our city. And I love that. I love that because, yeah, you want the benefit. Because believe it or not, a lot of Americans actually live in Mexico illegally. I know, it's crazy. Wow. And so, no, they want tougher legislation on it. And yeah, they're pissed. And I love that for them. So.
Yo, it's your favorite brainwashed liberal here, and I don't think I've ever seen so much retaliation from other countries towards the United States, for obvious reasons, like Donald Trump. So spring break has been a disaster for Maga, specifically Maga Americans that are trying to find a cheap place to retire and go live at, particularly in vacation spots like Cancun and Acapulco, places like that, because Mexican people watch the news, and they've been paying attention to how Americans talk about Mexican people living in America. Not only that, but it's actually been really disastrous for MAGA Americans specifically, and just Americans in general who are looking for a cheap place to retire. It's been disastrous for the Mexican people. There's a kind of like hard gentrification happening there where rent has risen as a result of gentrification, like by about 40%, probably even more than that by the time that this video goes out. And it really just sort of makes it so that impoverished Mexicans have to further choose between rent, food, and things like electricity, not to mention other expenses. There's people saying that MAGA shouldn't be wearing their red hats or anything, or any pro-Trump merch. This can lead to them being targeted by Mexican citizens and things like that, which, I don't condone, but more power to Mexico. And apparently there's stuff on the news about people reportedly destroying businesses and things like places that have set up shop and everything like that. I don't know if that's true or not. But it begs the question, if you proudly wear your anti-Mexican hate, not only through your merch, but also your rhetoric and everything like that, why would you go to Mexico? You don't like those people. And they sure as hell don't like you, so what are you doing, man? This is further illustrated by people who are vacationing in Mexico, being held up at the airport and being sent to the immigration line, being searched, and it's just they're just trolling. Making life absolutely miserable for those who expect white privilege in other countries. I've even heard about personal anecdotes of people who go to beaches and tell mariachi bands to stop playing mariachi music, which, I mean, come on, bro. And they can't even really just eat their food in peace. Like, MAGA is just not catching a break. Like, people have been saying that during spring break, which is when this all started, restaurants are secretly spitting in the foods and beverages of MAGA Americans. But the thing that really pisses them off the most, other than, the possible gentrification and the proud hatred of Mexican people through merchandise, is really just the family separation, the anti-immigration, things like that, and just a general racism. So, yeah, that's just karma, guys. Like, don't mess with the Mexican people. And more importantly, don't be racist.
Did you hear about that? Mexico is now deporting Americans out of Mexico. All you ones that want to go be happy the immigrants are being deported and then go visit Mexico or live in Mexico while you run your business here in America, them days are over. Y'all want to laugh at the immigrants for being deported? Are they laughing at you? Bye. Get out of Mexico. And the president of Mexico is welcoming all the immigrants back home. Please come home. We welcome you with loving arms, she said. Y'all gonna see the tides are gonna change. These immigrants are gonna stop being treated the way y'all treating them and laughing at them and locking them up, detaining them and beating them. Them days are over. Mexico is fighting back and they're gonna deport you from their country. And I hope it's one of you Magas that are so happy they getting deported. I hope it's one of you that get deported from Mexico. Bye.
People forget that the Spanish colonial system was literally codified in paintings. This is how they depicted race. There were 16 or more races in colonial Spain or Mexico in the American Southwest. The top were white people, and all the white people had different names depending on their mixture. In the middle are indigenous people, which is right here in the middle. And then down here are black people or West African people that they brought during slavery. So this shows you that these are the three different groups that created the colonial system of Mexico. So the people who are denying that black people were part of the cowboy culture, vaquero culture, literally right here, they are part of the culture. In the middle, indigenous people were in the middle. They had better treatment than black people, and the white people were at the top. Spanish inherited the system from the Moors, and in 1491, that's when they defeated the Moors, and in 1492 is when they came to, but this is their system. This is how they codified their system to say, oh, if you're mixed with this and this and that, this is what you are. And so the goal was, it was like a game or something. The goal was, how do you get to whiteness? And this is how you did it. The colonial system of Mexico is or Nueva España was very different from the British one. And so people that are denying certain things about black Mexicans, well, the evidence is in the paintings, literally. Really important to understand these really, really nuanced things about the Spanish system that are very different from the British one.
Mexican rioters are kicking Americans out of their country. Look at this. This is crazy. This is happening in Mexico City. They are destroying businesses. Look at this. Oh, ¿no se puede? and they're going in. Oh man, look at all the people filming. This is crazy. They're telling them to leave the country. This guy's writing to a gringo. That's not good. Here they are trying to break into a restaurant. It's already got spray paint on it. Look at that. This guy's got a knife. That's terrifying, man. Ripping down the outdoor dining. There's so many people filming it, and there's zero police anywhere. What do you do? No police. What do you do? Now they're attacking some apartments, it looks like. Throwing rocks at them. It's just total anarchy.
I live in a town of 8,600 people. It's 98.1% white. Care to take a guess what our crime rate is?
Guarantee you say where you live, it's gonna go up. Oh, he's not done.
Do Asians see things that are far away better than we do because they're already squinting?
Keep it up, sir. I'm sure somebody's about to give you 2 black eyes and make you squint.
Look, I'm not saying ICE may or may not have made a couple oopsies, but everybody makes some oopsies. And I don't know why you're complaining about ICE making an oopsie and deporting somebody to another country, because you demand the right for when you make an oopsie, you can kill it. We're not killing anything.
Okay, so let me get this straight. White people are going down to Mexico for vacation and are complaining that the Mexican bands that play on the Mexican beaches are too loud. And the white people complain so much that the Mexicans that ran those Mexican hotels was trying to ban the Mexican bands from playing Mexican music on the Mexican beaches. So the Mexican president got involved and had to send the Mexican military to go down to the Mexican beach because there was too many Mexican protesters protesting against the white people who were trying to ban the Mexican bands. And so the Mexican military is singing alongside the Mexican protesters. Then y'all get mad when people call y'all mayonnaise warriors. Not only that, they have mayonnaise warriors who have moved down to Mexico that have caused a lot of the Mexican restaurants to stop making spicy food. So a lot of the Mexican restaurants are saying that they have to throw out tons and tons of food because white people are complaining so much about the food being spicy that they have to redo a lot of their orders. How about the white people in Mexico? Why don't you go back to your country? And y'all quick to say, it's not always about race. So what is this?
Then why even post? Like, honestly, your whole TikTok is of you replying and crashing out to liberals with no point. Then why even post? You're calling for them like they pay your bills. Let me tell you, they don't pay your bills. You need to look for a 9-to-5 maybe. But what I also find pretty funny is that you're a naturalized citizen. You're over here simping for Maga. Maga is not even a political party. It's just a movement of people who miss the good old days where people like you or me weren't even allowed. But yeah, honestly, the jokes write themselves.
America loves to erase ugly history. So let's talk about the time that the US deported over 2 million Mexicans, many of whom were actually American citizens. During the Great Depression, white Americans were blaming Mexicans that they were stealing jobs. Does that sound familiar to you? And the government solution? Mass deportations. But this wasn't just about undocumented immigrants. This included Mexican, American, U.S. citizens. You're probably wondering, well, why are they being deported? You know what? It's as simple as them literally racially profiling Mexicans. All that they were looking for were Mexicans, no matter if they were an illegal immigrant or if they were a U.S. citizen. Because the thing is that they deported over millions of fucking U.S. citizens that were Mexican. They didn't care about legal status. They didn't care about families. They rounded up entire communities, grabbing people from their homes, from their workplace, from parks, and even their hospital bed. Imagine being sick in a hospital, being dragged out of your bed to get deported to a country that you have never lived in. And this is the thing, this isn't random. It was the US government, police officers, and everything else all the way up to federal level. They were working together to make sure that these communities were erased. They used propaganda to try and paint Mexicans as a burden, but then once they needed cheap labor, they decided to, guess what, bring them back. Does that sound familiar? Because this playbook is still being used today. Latinos are still being blamed for the economic problems that they didn't even create. Immigrants are still being exploited for labor and then thrown away when it's convenient. This is the same country that has built its wealth off of immigration labor, but then turns their back when times get tough. This is why history matters. Okay, they want us to forget so we can keep forgetting, but here's the thing. We see the pattern. So what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it?
Yesterday, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt discussed how the Trump administration and Mexico are in trade talks for a huge trade deal. Here we go.
Mexico is still paying tariffs. They're paying a 25% tariff on fentanyl, 25% tariff on cars, a 50% tariff on steel, aluminum, and copper. And additionally, Mexico has agreed to immediately terminate its non-tariff trade barriers, of which there are many. And as the president said, we will continue to talk to Mexico over the next 90 days with the goal of signing a larger trade deal. The key to this, again, is Mexico has agreed to terminate those non-tariff barriers and to continue to work with us in good faith. Mexico is a very unique situation of all the other countries around the world because, of course, we share our southern border with Mexico, which we've seen an increase in cooperation between Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum and our administration on clamping down on drug trafficking and human trafficking at the southern border. We appreciate those efforts and will continue to work in good faith and to continue to have these trade discussions as well.
Hi guys, welcome back once again to my YouTube channel. I really hope you vote the commendation of the video and all credits goes to the original creator of the video. Yeah guys, now I really think that Mexicans, they are really working up, and earlier on I do remember the Mexican president said that if you can do it, I can do it too. So we have all seen how Mexicans, they are kicking American people out of Mexico. They are kicking them out of Mexico because they feel like these people, they are treating them the way they are treating their brothers and sisters who are living in the United States. Earlier on, you do remember that President Donald Trump came out with the new rules with his new administration that they were deporting all immigrants that couldn't have proper or legal papers. And according to that research, you have seen how a lot of immigrants, especially Mexican, or a lot of people who are being deported from United States back to their homeland country, Mexico, because you all believe that Mexico and America, they just share the same border. So there's a lot of Mexican who are living in United States illegally. So the people of Mexico really came out and said that there's no way you can be doing that to our own brothers and sisters. And on our side, white people, especially white Americans, they usually go to retire in Mexico. They usually go to settle in Mexico because we all believe that life in Mexico is cheaper. They usually go and buy lands in there, Mexico, invest in Mexico, and a lot of them usually go to vacation in Mexico. Yeah, we all know this deal is 50-50 because if these people go to Mexico, Mexican government really earn a lot of money through tourists, and when these people go to invest in Mexico, they really create or increase the economy of Mexico. But right now, the Mexican brothers and sisters have really came out and said that if people, you are chasing our own brothers and sisters, you are separating them from their families. We have all seen how ICE agents, they're really terrorizing people. They said, if you come to our country, just don't wear those Maga hats. And if you can come to our country and disrespect our culture, we will have to chase you, or we will have to deport you back to your original home country. And earlier on, there were rumors saying that a lot of people really came out and said that other countries are going to start kicking Americans out of their country or make them follow the same rules America say to follow, because Americans, they have really kicked all the immigrant out of United States. Those who have just remained are those, they are just the chosen few who they haven't yet been found, maybe by ICE agents, because you have all seen how ICE agents, they are really terrorizing people. They are going door to door, they are going everywhere, in the fields, in hospital, just to arrest and detain people and deport them back to their homeland countries. And this is not a better thing. So I've all seen how they have been doing this, and I really think it's not a good thing. And to my Mexican, maybe Mexican, they just want to return the favor. They treat people bad as well as the workers. These Mexican people, they say in the United States. So these people are just returning the favors. The favor. If you are chasing our own brothers and sisters, our own blood out of America, and you just want to come into our countries, walk wearing Maga hats, wearing Maga t-shirts, make America great again, make America greater once again. And back in America, we have got a lot of our own brothers and sisters, whereby you are arresting them, you are separating them from their families, you are leaving their children without their father or mother. You are making them to live a difficult life, and right now you want just to come to Mexico for vacation freely, walk freely, like there's nothing really happening. That's these people feel like it's kind of, maybe these people, they are treating them in a bad way, or it's kind of like they're showing them that they can do anything and there's nothing they can be done to them. So Mexican people, they really came out in large number, and they're saying those Americans who are going to Mexico, they will deport them back. They are calling them those maybe El Gringos who are going to Mexico. They will deport them back to their own country, because they are doing the same thing to their brothers and sisters. Yeah. And a lot of people, they are really supporting these things. And what I really know, Mexican never done this before. It's only because the Trump new administration, they started, and they will finish what they started. I've never seen Mexican people chasing other people or chasing other races out of their country. They're just doing this because maybe President Donald Trump did, or is doing this to their own brother. They're just returning the favor, and they're saying they will continue doing this because a lot of people, they have been deported. A lot of Mexican, high number or high percentage of people who are being deported out of America, they are the Mexican, because they share the same border. So we really hope things could be better, and maybe these people will have the good relationship with one another, because they have been having good relationship for a very long period of time, and we hope things maybe won't get out of control. So guys, if it was for the first time you're coming across my video, don't forget to like this video, subscribe and share. Thank you so much for your time. May God bless you whenever you are. One love.